Hey guys, it's Ryan.
And Ashley.
From Ruining Our Childhood.
In case you forgot, because you're listening to this episode right now.
Yes. And, we don't get our ads played during other podcasts. We just wanted to remind you that we're coming up on our 20th episode extravaganza.
Woo!
And it's going to be a Q&A episode.
Yes, we're going to answer your questions that have just been burning in your brain about me and Ryan. Go ahead and just DM us on Instagram at Ruining Our Childhood, or
we're on Facebook at Ruining Our Childhood.
Yes, and just let us, just ask whatever question you want to ask.
Yeah.
When did we meet? How did we meet?
Yeah.
Who are we? What are you
doing for a living? Yeah. What are our favorite movies?
Where am I?
What is our least favorite movie ever? Just, go ahead. Throw anything.
What do we like outside of movies, maybe?
Yeah.
If you want to know. If you don't want to know, then that's fine, too.
Yeah. If you guys don't, we'll just, like you said, we'll do some generic questions.
But we would really like you to send us some questions our way.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you want to know about me and Ryan. Enjoy the rest of the episode, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Two newly paired cops who are complete opposites must put aside their differences in order to catch a gang of drug smugglers.
This is Ryan.
This is Ashley.
And this is
Ruining Our Childhood.
A weekly podcast where we remove our childhood goggles and put on our adult bifocals to rewatch and review our favorite movies from the past.
That's correct. And if you're just joining us, hey, what's up?
What's going down in your
town?
Why
are you just listening to our 17th episode?
Yeah.
There's so many to choose
This
from.
podcast can go attend an R-rated movie by itself.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're a married couple.
Indeed.
Who've been married forever. 9 years?
Going on 9 years.
Going on 9 years.
There we go.
We love movies, and we've always bonded over movies.
Yep.
And we have a large collection, so we're just rewatching some of our favorites and deciding if they're even that good to begin with.
Yeah.
In some cases. And in other cases, we just like rewatching some of the ones that actually do hold up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun to rewatch.
Yes.
And be able to...
Like Austin Powers.
Yes, which is an episode we just did last week.
Yes. So go back and listen to it.
Yes, definitely. It's hilarious, probably. I haven't even edited it yet, so who knows? It could be a total
shit show.
Yeah. Some of them are,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say we're not
perfect.
We're not perfect at all.
No.
We're far from perfect. If you can't guess, we're doing the 1987 classic. I didn't say
you just skipped right over like 1987 classic.
Yeah, like a normal person that says words normally. Lethal Weapon.
That is correct.
Starring Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Yes.
I almost said Donald.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I remember my childhood best friend, still a good friend of mine to this day. His name is Daniel. Has a same last name as Glover.
Well, why did you just give his address?
Yeah, childhood best friend. And I was at his house one time when we were kids, and he had ordered like a calendar, or not a calendar, like a catalog from from a basketball team or something. And the person who mailed it to him wrote on the address label or something like, "Say hi to Mel Gibson for me."
Nice.
Yeah, so.
I'm sure you got a lot of those jokes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He definitely had to have. But yeah, sorry to give out your full name. He would just prefer that everyone know him as Man, and he has a job and drives car.
Yeah.
That is him. He does not like all this, so he'll be thrilled to hear it all.
Yes.
So.
Exactly.
Would you like me to tell you about our film?
Yes, and also 1987 facts.
There you go. This movie was released on March 6th, 1987. It had a budget of $15 million, and it grossed $120 million. It spawned a total of 3 sequels.
Yes.
And 1 television series.
Yes, which, if you type in Lethal Weapon into the internet, it automatically goes to the TV series.
Yeah, which I don't know why.
And it's annoying.
It's terrible.
Because you should know what we're talking about. Google.
So, popular shows from 1987 are The Cosby Show.
Yes.
A Different World. And
Different World.
Cheers. Man, NBC had a lot of popular shows.
Yeah.
Popular songs. Bon Jovi, Livin' on a Prayer, was the popular song when the movie was actually released.
Nice.
Huey Lewis and the News, Jacob's Ladder, and George Michael, Faith. Popular movies, Three Men and a Baby, Fatal Attraction, and Beverly Hills Cop 2. Dose.
So, yeah.
What are your earliest recollections of this film that came out when you were not even a year old?
That's true. I want to say, and I think I said this in a previous podcast, that my dad he would record movies from TV. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think we were talking about the commercials in one of the episodes. We were talking about watching amazing commercials from when our parents would record movies from TV. And so I think that's how we had the movie for the longest time, was on a VHS tape mixed with another movie. I couldn't tell you what it was. So I remember watching with my dad and my brother, and I don't think I saw any of the sequels. I remember when the fourth one came out. What did that come out, like 98 or something like that? Yeah, 98. Mm-hmm. And I remember rewatching them, and I don't think we saw the fourth one in theaters. I think we just rented it. So I vaguely remember the movie. I honestly think I remember, what was the movie that came out? It was like the parody, and it had Emilio
Loaded Weapon.
Loaded Weapon. I think I remember that more because we rewatched that so much, me and my brother. But it had Emilio Estevez, and I can't remember.
And Sam Jackson.
Was Sam Jackson the person? Why did I think like David Wayans was? I don't know.
No.
Because I always think, when I think of parody movies, I do think of Wayans.
Yeah, the Wayans brothers.
Yeah. The things I remember from this movie are probably stuff that happened in Loaded Weapon that they like were making fun of Lethal Weapon about. So I'm excited to watch it because I probably haven't seen it in a good 20-something years since I was a kid. So
I was introduced to the series when I was a kid by my next door neighbor. I remember watching the third one. Mm-hmm. So that was probably when it came out on like VHS in like 1993. I saw that one. I didn't see Lethal Weapon 1 or 2 until the fourth one was coming out. My parents, I remember at like Christmas one year, they had bought us the first three on VHS, and we watched all three of them. And then I remember when the fourth one came out, we went and saw that in theaters.
Yeah.
So I was a fan of them all, but I kind of saw them out of order. Because obviously, I was 2 when this movie came out. Like, my parents weren't taking me to see Lethal Weapon. And if they did, I would have no recollection of it.
Right.
But I would say this was also how I got introduced to Mel Gibson, Danny Glover. Like, I didn't know who any of these actors were until I saw these movies.
That's true.
And I became a big fan. Like, I enjoy Mel Gibson's work to this day. I know he's done some unpopular things and some wrong things, but I always liked his movies.
This might have been the first movie with him in it that I saw, or Braveheart maybe?
That's possible.
I didn't really understand it when it first came out. No. I just know my brother was really into like historical movies, and so I would just watch it with him, whether I understood it or not. But the only thing I really remember from this movie is just Danny Glover's character, always complaining.
Yeah, too old for this shit.
Yeah, which it's something that is referenced in so many movies and TV shows. So that's the thing I remember the most about it.
Also, I could be confusing them because, like, I'm like you. I haven't seen these in a good almost 20 years. So this will be very interesting. But I remember piecing together that, okay, he was retiring, I think, in the first one. Like, he was like 2 days from retirement. But then somehow he's still on the force. Like, the last one came out in 98. So 11 years later, he's still working? Hang it up,
Some
brah.
people get bored in retirement. My dad hates it sometimes. Yeah. There's only so many times you can mow your lawn, man.
Hey.
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't remember anything other than Mel Gibson's wife is dead.
Yes.
And that's why he's such a dick face.
Martin Riggs.
Is that his first name?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It says right here.
I remember it's Martin Riggs, and I don't remember Murtaugh's.
Roger.
Roger Murtaugh.
Roger Murtaugh.
Yeah.
So
those are the names of the important people. There's some other ones, so we won't give them away because there's a lot of. I can already think of some famous people that are in this, so it's going to be delightful.
I honestly cannot tell you anybody that's in this.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm excited because I get really excited about seeing like random people, and I'm like, oh shit, this person was in this movie.
And it's exciting when it's a movie like this where it could be somebody who has a real small part, and this is one of their first acting roles. Like, I love how we watched the movie that had Michael Pena randomly.
It was Gone in 60
Seconds. It's like, Michael Pena is a pretty big actor nowadays, and it was just a little bit itty-bitty part in a movie. So, yeah, I definitely like those. Do you think it's going to hold up?
I think it will.
Okay.
Because I think if you think of it as a concept of, it's probably one of the more famous buddy cop movies. It's something that's referenced a lot, like I said earlier, and it has like an iconic pairing, and obviously it spawned a TV show.
Yeah.
So it's definitely part of our culture, and I think because of that, it's going to hold up. Like I said, I haven't seen it in such a long time, I couldn't even tell you. Obviously, I know they're cops.
Yeah.
And they have something to do with drug smugglers.
Mm-hmm.
Literally have no clue what else is happening in the movies. I almost feel like I've never seen this movie, but I know I have.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I have no clue if it's going to hold up as far as dated references. You know, maybe there'll be some jokes that don't hold up to our PC culture.
Possible.
But I think overall it probably will hold up.
Yeah, I agree with you. Buddy cop movies I've always enjoyed them. Going back to like, I love the Rush Hour movies, and even most recently, The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. Like, they're hilarious. They're well done. And this is, in a way, the one that kind of started it all, at least in my mind. I'm sure someone's going to be like, well, there was this one. So, but it's one of my favorites, so I think it's going to be funny. And like you said, a few years ago, they found it necessary to make a TV show that I remember watching the first episode of the TV show, and it followed the first movie very closely. So I agree with you. I think it's going to hold up. I'm sure there's going to be some things. I'm hoping for some good dated references, though.
The thing I think that will probably date it is probably the action sequences, because I think that's one thing that dates action movies from the 80s and 70s is like the fight scenes.
Oh, yeah.
The choreographed parts are a little...
They're not as good. Jackie Chan wasn't doing the choreography for it.
Or, you know, like, I think it's always a joke where it's like, oh, that guy's waiting for the other guy to fight the lead until he decides to punch him. Like, like everybody's really patient when in fight scenes.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. So you said it will hold up?
I'm saying it's going to hold up, yeah.
I don't know if you officially said that. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I gave every reason why I thought it was going to, but I don't know that if I actually gave it the Ryan stamp of approval. This will hold up.
Okay, so we both think it's going to hold up.
Yes.
Just real quick, too, if you don't own this movie... Do we own this movie?
Yes, we do.
Okay. If you don't own this movie, you can rent it from Vudu, Google Play, Amazon Prime, and YouTube. It doesn't look like it's on any Netflix or Hulu type services, so that sucks.
Lame.
Yeah, it does suck. But... if you're cool like us, you own it already, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you want to watch the movie before listening to the next segments, then we're going to go ahead and hit that pause right now and go watch the movie, and we'll come back and discuss Lethal Weapon. Did you want to say anything? That's our song. Are you going to do our song this whole time? That's not even our song.
I kind of did my own version of it in my head.
Just don't do anything.
It was
that
like a combination of that song and Baby Shark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea.
We don't have even children. How do you know that song?
But it's a cultural phenomenon.
Okay.
All right, hit the pause.
Okay, bye guys.
Okay, and we're back. We just finished watching Lethal Weapon. And we're going to go ahead and break down our movie like we always do. So get your cell phone that's attached to an external battery that has an antenna on it. And let's get ready to talk about some technology. What pieces of amazing technology did you notice?
That's Rupert.
Yeah. They probably can't hear it, though.
They've heard it before.
Well, he is the official dog of the Ruining Your Childhood podcast. Our childhood, not ruining your childhood.
Well, we are ruining everybody's childhood.
That is correct.
Just kidding. The first bit of technology that I saw in the movie was in Riggs's trailer, which is Mel Gibson's character, for anybody that doesn't know. And he has like this tiny little box television that reminded me of the TV I had until I was like 18 in my bedroom. And, you know, he shot it because... No, he threw a beer bottle into it.
Yeah.
Into that one, yeah.
Which apparently the beer bottle was made of like a brick. Right? Because it went right through the television.
I was like, were television screens made with really thin glass back then? It just seemed... Or is he just that strong? I
hear he does throw a Randy Johnson fastball, so
okay.
that could be the problem.
Sense, then.
Yeah. But yeah, I noticed that as well. And then we talked about the cell phone. There's a bunch of console televisions, the ones that are in like the wooden box.
Yes.
Yeah. Which were pretty awesome. One that I noticed, and it was just it took me back, was Danny Glover's character, Murtaugh, gets some evidence delivered to his house for the case they're working. And it's a VHS tape. It's a naughty video that he watches. But it's in this old black case. And yes. I remember, like, it wasn't like you would get those little paper slip cover cases that were on VHS. It was like in a legit black hard case that I think we only had like one movie that had that. So I thought that was kind of funny.
I do remember it. It just reminds me of video rentals too.
Yeah.
Because most of them were in the solid cases.
Yeah, that would be exactly like, although those ones were usually clear, but that's exactly what it was. It was just a black version of that. So yeah, it's a good point. Did you notice any other ones?
The other thing I noticed was towards I guess it wasn't the end. I thought when I was writing this, I thought it was more the end, but it was when they were confronting the bad guys because the bad guys had kidnapped Murtaugh's daughter, and they were in the middle of the desert, and the general is the character's name is listed as
General Peter McCallister.
Peter McCallister?
That is his name.
The father.
The father.
Home Alone reference. He... Sorry, I just realized that. I heard in part of the movie, I heard Riggs yell McCallister, and I was like, Kevin McCallister? And I did not put...
Yeah, because I don't think they ever said, like, Peter McCallister. Like, I just picked, like,
I think he did say General Peter McCallister. But anyway. Yeah. But he was wearing this headset that was amazing.
Yeah. He looked like he was going to go on tour with New Edition. He was Bobby Brown.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
So, yeah, no, that was pretty awesome. And then also I did see a Mitsubishi television, which I don't think they made.
Was that the one?
TVs
there was
anymore.
The really nice house that they went to that was part of the drug ring. It was like a nice mansion. There was the two girls like just hanging out, pouring heroin into baggies, and they smiled at the two cops, like not realizing
and they were
cops.
like in lingerie almost.
Yeah, because that's what you do. Anyway, but there was like a big television, and I'm thinking in 1987 that was like a really high-end television, but it was still super small. I want to say it was like 32-inch television.
Yeah. No, that was elite back then.
Riggs was watching like football on it or something while they were just hanging out. He was like admiring the television.
That would be like if somebody had like an 85-inch television.
That's true.
Shout out to Kyle.
It's just funny that that was the thing. And then the other thing I noticed, and I did make a note, it was in Murtaugh's house, the bad guy, Joshua, is inside their house towards the end of the movie, and he shoots the television. I was like, does somebody have something against televisions in this movie? Because many televisions were harmed in the making of this movie.
No animals.
No.
Only televisions.
Only televisions.
Yes.
So that was all I had.
That's all I had as well.
Awesome. Oh, I did want to talk about the music score because holy saxophone. I never knew there could be so much saxophone in a score.
It was annoying.
It got annoying at times, yeah, definitely.
It seemed like every time there was maybe like a lull in dialogue.
It was like...
Clapton did the music for this.
Yes,
Eric
which is amazing.
Clapton.
I didn't know that.
He should be banished from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because of as much saxophone that he put in this film.
I will say, it did date the movie, and it reminded me of a TV show I used to watch with my dad. It was In the Heat of the Night.
Yes.
It reminded me of that because it was just so dramatic.
Yeah.
Was there anything else for the technology?
No, that's all I had, but good
awesome
catch on that. that saxophone. Jazz
So-
sax.
Let's move on to kids would call it a throwback. We call it the prime of our teens, where we talk about fashion and dated references. What did you notice?
As far as fashion, this should be in the Smithsonian, in my opinion, and that is Mel Gibson's hair.
Yes.
It is so voluminous. It was like a modified mullet.
It was.
And I'm tempted to go get a haircut tomorrow and be like, make me look like Mel Gibson.
You're going to need hair plugs in the back. You don't have the length in the back.
I need more.
Yeah.
Oh, it was glorious. I was like, damn.
That mixed with he wore tight Wranglers. I don't know if they're
Oh,
actually Wranglers, but that's the only thing I can think of. Tight ass pants.
Mm-hmm.
He'd always be wearing like a white shirt where you could see his nipples.
Which,
and
that's for everyone. The
and like
ladies
cowboy
and the men.
boots.
But they were like snakeskin cowboy
Yeah, they
boots.
were. Those don't seem like comfortable shoes to be running around and, you know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
putting everybody's lives in danger.
And he always had a gun tucked in the front of his jeans. He's waiting to blow his off.
Yeah, how does that man still have a penis?
I don't know.
I said penis.
Yeah.
You didn't want to, apparently.
Yeah. No, his fashion. It's funny because, like, at the same time, I didn't look at it and go, man, that's some 80s fashion. There was a couple people that had a little 80s vibe going on, but it wasn't like they looked like they just rolled out of Miami Vice.
Murtaugh just wore suits a lot, so that wasn't anything crazy.
They were, like, a little dated with some of, like, the style of the wool suits that he was wearing, but at the same time, you're like, okay, yeah, it's not bad.
The other thing I noticed was in this scene that we just talked about a little while ago, about where they go into the house in Beverly Hills, and the guy that ends up shooting a machine gun at them.
As you do.
He's wearing these really big sunglasses that I can only compare to the sunglasses that older people wear, the ones that go over your glasses, the day blockers. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
And I thought the guy was old because he was wearing like a tracksuit and then he was wearing those. And I was like, oh, that guy's really old and he was just shooting a machine gun. But then when he falls into the pool and they show his face really close up because he's like choking. Yeah, I'm like, he doesn't look that old. It just seemed really old. Yeah. And then the other thing I noticed was Trish, who is Murtaugh's wife. At one point, she's wearing this really long pink sweater with leggings. And they have these huge roses on them, and she's wearing like a matching headband. I was like, that's beautiful.
That's 80s right
That's totally 80s. I feel like she just got back from an aerobics class.
Then there was a couple little kids that help them when they go to one of the prostitutes' house, and the house blows up.
Dixie.
Yeah, Dixie was her name. And the kids are trying to help describe the suspect, or they're going to try to get the kids to help. And the one kid is just wearing 3D glasses. Which I thought was awesome, because I was like, you know, when I was a kid and I got a pair of 3D glasses, like whether it was in like a little kid's like highlights magazine, I totally wore them all the time like an idiot too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Dixie was another one that in the one scene that she was in at the beginning, she's wearing this metallic,
oh my lord, silver blazer.
Yeah, like an oversized.
She looked like a high class prostitute.
I don't know if she's really high class, but
I just wanted to be able to sing that.
But let's talk about the murder victim.
Yes.
In the beginning of the movie, I think her name was Amanda.
Amanda Hudsinger.
She lived in a really nice apartment.
Yes, she did.
And then they were kind of really vague about she did porn, but she also was. They also said she was a prostitute.
She was a prostitute, yeah. But it sounded like she had like a sugar daddy that was paying for that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because
I must miss that.
I did see, like, when they pull up there and they're explaining to her, Danny Glover's character, they're explaining to him like about the murder. He was like, "I want to know who's paying for that apartment," like, and yells at the guy.
Oh yeah,
like unnecessarily.
I remember that part, but I just didn't. I don't know. Anyway, was there any other fashion, or should we move on to dated references?
I think that's all I had as far as fashion.
So, what did you have any dated references? Is what I'm asking.
The one dated reference that I saw was like you mentioned Danny Glover's kitchen. He had paneling on all of his appliances, which I liked. that was all I really had, dated references.
Oh, the one thing I noticed, there was a commercial playing. It was one of the scenes where he's just at home, and there was this ultra cheesy Alka-Seltzer commercial.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's amazing. And then just the only offensive reference was done by Riggs.
Yes.
AKA Mel Gibson. I feel like maybe he ad-libbed that, and they're like, that's hilarious.
Oh.
That was in the scene where he's being tortured by Joshua. There's another henchman who just happens to be Asian. He's just like, who's the chink? And I'm like, Jesus.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, he said it.
And, I was going through this movie going, it was made in the 80s. Mm-hmm. There's going to be dated references like that or like offensive things because apparently it was hilarious to make fun of minorities and, women and all these other groups. But I was surprised there wasn't really any of that. And then all of a sudden, just towards the end of the movie, I was like, you guys were doing so good. Then he had to do that. But honestly, that was the only
they did very well.
Offensive joke. So for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I did want to point out, and because I'll just do it in this category, that the Amanda in the beginning scene, I just like how she was just like laying out with her boobs out and just doing some heroin or coke or something.
Yeah, as you do.
Some sort of substance that she
let the ladies hang out.
Is that a thing? And cool. There's just movies that I feel like they do nudity just for the sake of doing nudity, and it has no point. But I guess you could say that about a lot of things like Game of Thrones and stuff.
I remember seeing Swordfish, which had John Travolta and Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry. I remember when we left, I think my brother looked at me and goes, that's cool they wanted to show Halle Berry naked and all, but it was the most pointless thing. Like, she was literally just outside without a top on, sunbathing.
That's my thing. Is
you're like, this added
it's one
nothing
thing if it's
to
like
the
a
movie.
sex scene or, all the times I remember from like a kid seeing it was usually in some sort of stupid comedy where they would break in on girls dressing. And I'm like, okay, they're getting dressed. Not just, I'm just laying here with my boobs out doing drugs.
But then they gave us all a gift.
By
the
showing...
next scene.
That's true.
Mel Gibson just gets up and he's walking around with his ass hanging out.
He did have a nice butt.
Yes.
So
he was the original. It was
an even
America's
trade-off.
Ass. Yeah. No, it really
and there's
was.
nothing wrong with showing boobs and stuff. I just think
it added nothing to the movie.
I
get what you're saying. Like, you're like, I get why you show that, but really, that was pointless.
Right. Do you want to move on to our next category?
Well, hello there. Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, that was a yes. This is our category where we talk about any cameos or famous or recognizable actors or actresses that we may have forgot were in the film. Who did you notice?
First of all, Darlene Love plays Murtaugh's wife.
Yes.
I was pretty excited about that.
This is actually the first thing. I knew her as Trish Murtaugh before I ever knew who Darlene Love was. I knew the Christmas song that Darlene Love sang. Never knew that this was the person that sang it.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
I was surprised. Yeah. And, I mean, she's I guess, more notably as a singer, right?
She's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She was in, like, the initial class of it.
So, I think that's kind of funny. Out of all the actresses in the world, Darlene Love.
I don't know if maybe at this point she was trying to make a transition into acting. It's possible. Because, like, I know, like I said, she's in all of the Lethal Weapons. And
yeah. But most notably, saying Christmas.
Yes.
Baby, Please Come Home.
That is correct. And it is a delightful Christmas song that you might not recognize the name, but you definitely heard before, people.
Yes, if you've watched... It's probably used in a lot of Christmas movies.
Oh, yeah.
Home Alone.
Definitely.
Maybe something else.
Yeah. New Girl, because she makes a cameo.
Yeah, it's a great cameo.
Darlene Love. I noticed Mitchell Ryan. He played General Peter McCallister, and Mitchell Ryan was... probably most notably on Dharma and Greg. That might be what he's most known for, but he was in a ton of stuff. He was in Judge Dredd, and
I recognized him as being Minnie Driver's dad in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Yeah.
With my favorite, John Cusack.
That is correct.
So, yeah, I kept looking at him and going, like, where's this guy from? And then you told me Dharma and Greg. I'm like, I didn't really watch Dharma and Greg, but so I was excited about that. I didn't know Gary Busey was in it, so I was pretty excited.
Yes, as Mr. Joshua.
Especially since we just watched Stranger Things and Jake Busey was in that.
Yes.
Didn't have a huge part in it.
No, but
No spoiler alerts, but
he's looking more and more like his dad, though.
he is.
I'm
Yeah,
kind of surprised.
definitely.
Yeah.
And then who else was there? There was a very, very small part. It was an underage hooker was the line, was the name of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And it was played by an actress who was in Heathers. She played Betty Finn, who was Veronica's childhood friend, who was like a nerd. And I didn't realize she's Renee Estevez, sister to Emilio and Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
So I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I never knew they had a sister.
Sister. And
easy for me to say.
we also looked it up, and she I guess she's in West Wing, like all of the seasons of West Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Fun fact.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last one that I had was Mary Ellen Trainor is her name.
Yes.
She was the wife to Robert Zemeckis and was in a bunch of movies. She was in Goonies. I think she was in Die Hard.
She played the mom in Goonies.
Yeah, the mom. She played Bran and...
Lucas? No.
Why?
Mike.
Mike. Good. Sorry.
God.
Yeah.
For
Bran and
being
Mike's
one
mom.
of our favorite movies of all time. We
Literally,
really can't name characters.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I remember her from is she plays Ed O'Neill's wife in Little Giants. Which I love. So, yeah, she was in a ton of stuff. So
she was.
She played the police department psychiatrist.
Literally, I looked her up because you said she had passed away, and I was like, when did she pass away? She was just listed as psychologist. She didn't even have a name.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, considering she's a pretty well-known actress. Yeah. I would say.
I'm surprised Murtaugh's wife had a name.
Yeah, that's true.
The way they're like, female character. Underage hooker. Psychologist.
Correct.
They don't need a backstory.
No. Did you notice anyone else?
My boy. Low-flying helicopter.
Oh, yes. Yes. We decided we will credit any helicopter as just... He's going to be a character from now on.
Low-flying helicopter.
Low-flying helicopter.
If you listen to our Gone in 60 Seconds episode, which if you haven't, stop what you're doing.
Go
right now. Pause this episode, go listen to that, and then come back.
Yes.
Because it's amazing. But also because Low-Flying Helicopter...
That was this is one of Low-Flying Helicopter's early works. One
Possibly.
of his earlier roles. He had been in a lot of things, and then he appeared in Gone in 60 Seconds and really stole the movie.
Right.
I don't get why movies are like, you know what? Let's have that helicopter fly right behind the limousine, not above it. No. Right behind it.
Right behind it, almost so low that it's almost on the ground.
Yes.
And also just picking up dust because they're in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
Spin around a couple times around the group of people that are trying to have a meeting in a hostage situation.
They drag that out, circling around for 2 solid minutes.
Honestly, I thought the general was in there because he's the big villain. Him and Joshua.
Yes.
Who is Gary Busey. And there was just henchmen in there. That was the best part. I'm like, why are you taking so long to land, man?
Oh, you can make a point that there's 3 villains. There's Joshua, General, Low-Flying Helicopter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was delightful.
Definitely. Should we move on?
Yes, we shall.
The next category is called Is It Even Good? Where we talk about the plot. Is it believable? Is it not? Are the casting choices good? And then we talk about our funniest and most cringiest parts of the movie. What did you think about this plot of Lethal Weapon?
The only part I was a little confused as to why, I get they kill a hooker,
right?
Meaning Joshua and the general, in their little crime ring, they kill a hooker. But then I don't understand why they're investing so much energy into basically kill Murtaugh and Riggs.
They're really not good at being villains because I feel like if they would have just killed I forgot his name, Michael
Hunsinger.
Yeah, they kill his daughter, who happens to be a prostitute and possibly a porn star. I don't know. They kill her because he wants to come clean about his involvement in this drug smuggling ring.
Yeah.
Well, they kill him, and then they should have just ended it there and tried to lay low. Instead, they're like, let's murder 2 cops.
Yeah.
And let's not do a very good a job at it either.
No.
There was a lot of issues I had with this plot of this movie, because the other thing I have, and a lot of action movies are guilty of this, it's the whole concept that police officers can run around, do whatever they want, as long as they get results. Because that's realistic. And even at the beginning of the movie, they mention it. I don't even know who he was. It was just like a character that had one line. But when Riggs is trying to stop an active shooting situation by just walking up to the window, yelling at the guy, and then hoping the guy shows himself so he can shoot him.
Yeah.
The guy was like, you're crazy, but you get results.
Yeah.
Like, he just put a bunch of people in danger.
No. If you're an officer or, FBI agent or somebody working in law enforcement, this movie must drive you insane.
I would think a lot of action movies.
Because, like you pointed out, there's a scene where Mel Gibson is chasing after Gary Busey.
Yes.
And they run through a club where there's like a band playing and there's a ton of people, and Mel Gibson is just shooting at him in a crowd of people.
Yeah. Does not care. I mean, they do establish that he is a really good shot. He is a marksman. But
he doesn't hit him.
That's true.
He's just shooting. He doesn't hit him. Luckily, he didn't hit any of these other innocent bystanders that are just hanging out.
And then later, like a couple minutes later, he's in traffic just firing a machine gun. It's just amazing. What was... how did you feel about the casting choices?
I like the casting choices because I did think even down to like minor part, Darlene Love was really good and believable, actually, as like Danny Glover's wife.
Yeah.
I love Mel Gibson in the movie. He's a little intense. Sometimes it's almost cartoony how intense he
definitely.
is. But even I do like Gary Busey. Like, it's bad that in a lot of ways I only know Gary Busey from him just popping up on interviews acting a little crazy because of his accident and then possible, I don't know, maybe drug usage. But it's easy to forget that he was a good actor.
Yeah, no, he was a good villain.
Yeah, he was a really good villain in this movie. So I was just like, oh, it's kind of nice that, like, he was a good villain. Mitchell Ryan was a good villain. Like, everybody was decent. I didn't have a problem with the casting choices. Like, I always felt Danny Glover and Mel Gibson had very good chemistry.
They do.
And believable. Like, obviously it led to 4 movies, so I didn't really have any issues. What about you?
Same. I actually didn't write any notes at all for this category.
Oh.
So apparently I didn't have any gripes about it.
Yeah, that's a good indication. There's times where you're like, oh my lord, what are they doing? Although, we looked up ages.
Yes.
And that, it doesn't really go with the movie, as Danny Glover is 50.
Like his character.
His 50, Murtaugh. Sorry. Murtaugh is 50.
Right.
Danny Glover was actually 40.
Yes.
Mel Gibson was 31, but Murtaugh asks him about being in Vietnam.
And he said he was?
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I was in the Phoenix group in Vietnam and stuff. And I was like, well, then you would have been like, what, 14?
Did you lie about your age?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they had 18-year-olds. So, I don't know, maybe he's supposed to be almost 40?
Yeah, and then the other one is the lady that plays Danny Glover's oldest daughter. We couldn't tell her age, but we knew she was grounded and couldn't go out with her boyfriend.
I'm going to say she's at least a teenager. Maybe she's not in high school anymore, but I don't know.
She seemed like she was about 17 and had a crush on Mel Gibson's character. And turns out she was like 27.
Yeah.
So it made it a lot less cringy that she would have a massive
looked like
crush.
a baby, though. She did have a baby face.
Yeah.
So, what was your funniest moment?
I don't know that it's so much funny, but it's my favorite moment. It's when they're in the shooting range.
Uh-huh.
And Mel Gibson has talked up how he was a good shooter and he hit a guy from 1,000 yards, like in a windstorm. So they go to the shooting range and Danny Glover sends the target about 15 feet or 20 feet down range, and he like does like a quick draw and shoots it, and he brings the target back and it's right, dead center, right where the guy's nose would have been. He's like, yeah, I still got it. So then Martin gets in there and he sends the target all the way to the back of the range, takes out his gun, shoots it a bunch of times, brings it back, and he turned it into a smiley face.
Yeah.
And he's just, as you pointed out, he's whistling the whole time, but it doesn't appear that Mel Gibson is actually, or humming.
Yeah.
I don't think he was actually doing it. It was something that I did in post. But That was my favorite. Going back to when I was a kid, I loved that scene, and I still thought it was funny and neat.
Mine wasn't. It was funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't supposed to be funny, and it was just something I found that was over the top and ridiculous. Was towards the end of the movie, Murtaugh and Riggs are back together, and they're like, "Oh, we need to find Joshua, Gary Busey's character, and he knows where I live." So they assume that he's going to their house, and to distract Joshua, who's in their house looking for them, they crash a police car into the front of the house.
Yes.
The only thing I can think of is why.
Yeah.
It's just so over the top. There's probably a back door you could have went through. It's one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he is military trained, and
they could have literally just stood in front of the house and yelled Joshua, because that's who he's looking for. So he's going to be happy, and if they would have just yelled his name, he would have came outside.
But there's got to be another way. Yeah. And the only thing I can think of was Murtaugh's wife being like, I'm not going to question you as a police officer, but I feel like there's something else you could have done to distract him and not drive a car into the front of my house.
Yes.
Maybe.
It didn't seem necessary.
There was a lot of things that
now
didn't seem
we have
necessary.
a hole in the front of our house at Christmas time because you idiots.
Yeah. And you just crashed into the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And presents.
Yeah. Everything's Christmas is ruined because of you two idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. Was there anything else as far as funniest moments, or
no?
Do you want to go on the cringiest?
Yes.
What was yours?
The ensuing portion of the scene where you have just talked about is the car crashing in. Now Mel Gibson's character Riggs is going to fight Joshua.
Sure.
And they go in. For whatever reason, there's a fire hydrant that got crashed into, so there's just water spraying, so it looks like it's a rainstorm. They're fighting. They're doing, actually, it wasn't a bad fight. Like how you talked about, sometimes you feel like the villain's patiently waiting for but because it was like a one-on-one thing. Mm-hmm. But my favorite part was, at one point, Gary Busey catches Mel Gibson over his shoulder.
Right.
And he walks over and he performs what is John Cena's finishing move.
Okay.
On the hood of a car.
Sure.
Which I've seen John Cena do to someone on the hood of a car. He does it. Mel Gibson got right up.
Right.
That's not realistic. Pro wrestling taught me, if you do that move on a car, you will be out for at least a referee's 3 count. At least. Like, you could have... Ding, 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 ring the bell. Gary Busey, champion of the world.
That's true.
And it didn't happen.
We do need to talk about that scene because what the fuck? Why? Why is it a scene? Why is it so important that Riggs fights Joshua?
Yeah.
They're in 5 seconds in the movie together. I was just like, did I miss the scene where Joshua said he killed his wife? Because they never really explained how Riggs' wife dies in the movie.
Yeah.
In the TV show, they did. I remember.
They did.
But in this, they didn't, because apparently it didn't matter, whatever. I don't get why he needs to fight other than because they were in similar military backgrounds. That's the only connection. And then how 20 cops are just like, okay, we're doing this thing.
There was a couple that are like, dude, we need to get in there. What are you doing? And Danny Glover's like, I'm in charge on scene here.
How does he let him do that?
I'm in charge. I'm going to let him fight him. He wants to fight him. I'm going to let him.
It doesn't make any sense. And then he put, again... And then after the fight, they're
Mel Gibson won.
Mel Gibson's like, arrest him now. And so these cops grab him. He grabs the gun from the cop that's trying to handcuff him. And he almost just put a bunch of cops in danger so he could fight him.
Every episode you ever saw of cops, they yell at the suspect to get on the ground and put their hands out. And they have like 3 guns on the guy. And then somebody comes over and cuffs him. Apparently, whoever directed this, Richard Donner, never watched an episode of Cops, as I've stated on previous episodes, and you also have a little bit of a law enforcement background as well. We both worked in law enforcement. We have friends that are police officers.
Yes.
They must rip their hair out watching this.
I don't know.
Like, no. This is police skill. This is the first week of training. You get the guy on the ground and you have somebody holding him at gunpoint.
It's just funny to me because I feel like, obviously, this is a movie. Mm-hmm. We know that.
Yes.
We don't expect him to be completely accurate. I just don't understand what was necessary to the plot that they fight. And then also, I just don't, there's no, it wasn't like he was like, I knew Joshua way back when, and we had a beef, and he killed my wife. Like, no, it was just for fun.
It would have made more sense that Murtaugh would have wanted to fight him.
Because he threatened his daughter.
And he kidnapped his daughter.
Yes.
Like, it would have made more sense, but Riggs is like, nope, I gotta get out here and...
I honestly did not get it.
I didn't get it
He should have just arrested him.
But with that said, like, it's one of those scenes I love to watch because it's so annoying. It gets my blood up, and I'm like, I'm like, I wanted to go, like, freaking give him an AA on a hood of a car. It was awesome.
That's pretty much, you just summed up the point of the whole thing, was because it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Because they could do it, which is how we explained the whole helicopter thing in Gone in 60 Seconds. You know?
It was the worst part of the movie, but also the best part. What was your cringiest scene?
I don't even know. Oh,
sorry.
No, it's okay. So basically, throughout this whole movie, plenty of people get shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people die.
Yes.
How come nobody knows how to act like they're getting shot? It's amazing. It's so cringeworthy. If you were to pay attention to it, it's so bad. The one that I wrote down initially was, in the beginning of the movie, there's a scene where Riggs is talking to these guys about drugs, and he wants to buy the drugs, and they're in a Christmas tree lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they realize he's a cop, and there's a guy in the truck of Christmas trees behind them who just starts shooting at his own people, which doesn't make sense, right?
Doesn't make sense. But
the first guy that gets shot, his face and his body movements are just crazy. I think it's funny in older movies like this that, obviously, let me just put a disclaimer, I've never seen a real person get shot before.
Me neither.
I've never, so I don't know how it looks, thankfully, but it just seemed really over the top, like people are flying. Like
when Mel Gibson, spoiler alert, gets shot, and he manages to get blasted through a storefront window.
Right. How powerful is that gun?
And then we pointed out, he just got shot.
Yes.
Whether he's fine or not, they don't acknowledge it on the radio. Officer down.
They don't. They're just like, let's go on to the next thing.
Let's get over here to this car. And he's up walking fine in about 20 seconds.
Yes.
He just got shot with a shotgun.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when Michael, Roger's Vietnam friend, gets shot and killed, his acting was amazing too. He's like, ugh. Like, I can't even do it.
Well, and this was something that I had noted down for, like, additional edits, which when he gets shot, he's holding an eggnog carton.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
And somehow, apparently the bullet went right through him and out the front of him and right through the eggnog carton. And it just sprung, like, this little leak.
It was amazing.
It was so unnecessary.
It was. I think that's the thing about action movies made early on, is there's just some things that are just so over the top. It doesn't make sense to me how people saw those and were like, that's so cool, or that's so realistic. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have any other additional or...
I don't think I had anything else.
Okay.
Just the whole concept of the fact that Riggs still has a job, even though they know he has some issues because of his wife's death.
Leave.
Yeah, and he just puts himself in danger and everybody else around him just because he has issues.
Yeah.
No, nobody would allow this guy to be working.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, whatever. And the psychologist, who we point out doesn't have a name, she's just the psychologist.
That's correct.
She mentions it to a couple people and they're like, whatever. Yeah. Mental health wasn't a thing in the 80s, so.
No.
It was like, you're crazy or you're normal. There's no in between.
Exactly.
And they mention that a lot in this movie. He talks, I'm not crazy. And I'm like, if you just told people, hey, I'm still dealing with the traumatic events of my wife's death, which they never explain.
Yeah.
But she's dead, obviously. Maybe they'd be a little more like, oh, he's not crazy. He's just having emotional issues. But men aren't allowed to have emotional issues either, so.
Suck it up.
Yeah, basically.
And also, this movie came out in 87, and I want to say her headstone said she died in 85. So he's had these issues for a while.
Yeah.
And they've done nothing to help him.
Right.
awful. And sadly, I think that's something that actually still occurs.
Oh, I'm sure. They're just like, suck it up, man.
Get back out there.
Should we move on to our awards?
Yes, we shall. We give out 2 awards because it's award season, as always.
Right.
And the first is the valedictorian to the Nicolas Cage Online School of Bad Acting. And who did you give your award to?
I had a hard time with this because, honestly, I was thinking overall in the whole movie, there wasn't a lot of characters. They focus mainly on Riggs and Murtaugh, and they don't even establish the villains that great, I don't think.
No.
So the person I did end up giving it to was just because she had a little more screen time than other people, was Rhiannon Murtaugh. Tracy Wolf is the actress's name. She played the daughter of Murtaugh, who gets kidnapped. And it was purely because she seemed to overact a little. Not so much in the beginning scenes. I mean, she was in love with Riggs a little too quickly for my liking. But in the scene where they're in the desert and they're trying to get her back from the villains, and Riggs starts sniping off people, and, you know, a fight ensues, and she's just jumping up and down and screaming. And I'm like, just hide or something. You're gonna get shot.
I've never been shot at.
Yeah.
In that type of a situation, or any situation for that matter. But it seems like I would be running for cover.
Right?
Or running towards, I don't know, my dad, who was right there.
Or running away from the people that are shooting.
Yeah. I don't think I would just stand there and scream.
And she was jumping up and down.
Jumping up and down, which she did for about 30 seconds. That's all she did.
That's pretty much, yeah. And that's why I give it to her. And just at a later, when they're in the warehouse area and they're getting tortured, and she's just screaming every 5 seconds, and I'm just like, shut up, man.
Yeah.
Your screaming is not helping.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what I would do in that position, but I feel like the damsel in distress thing is just, I don't know. It always reminds me of the original Night of the Living Dead, where the main character is Barb, and she just screams, and that's all she does. And I'm like, why is she a character? It's very annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
Who did you give yours to?
I gave it to Michael Hunzinger, the Rogers,
Vietnam buddy,
because, like you said, it would have made more sense that they just kill him and be done with it. Right. I thought when he dies, it's just cringeworthy. Like you said, like, nobody knows how to die. And he, like, out of everyone in here, like, I thought the villains, which, like you said, really weren't established, but they were good.
No, the acting
so
was
it's almost
fine.
like I was giving it to him by default. And a close second would have been Rhiannon for me, like, because of that. I thought they could have just gotten rid of. Yeah. Because it would have made almost sense that they were investigating his daughter's death, and that's why Joshua and the general zero in on Riggs and Murtaugh. Like, it was almost like he was an unnecessary character.
He was. Like, he mumbled, too, whenever he talked. Yeah. Like, in the 2 main scenes he was in, where he's talking to Roger or Murtaugh, he mumbled.
And he didn't seem to care that his daughter was dead.
Yeah, he wasn't very,
like, you watch a movie where, like, when they're really upset about it, and this is, that's a traumatic thing.
He did, like, that silent, like, stare off into the distance thing. Yeah. I don't know.
Why is he in the movie? And it was just pointless. Oh, and a close second would have been Low Flying Helicopter.
I would give that my Tom Hanks award. Just kidding. Yeah. Should we move on to the Thomas J. Hanks Award for Exceptional Acting?
Yes. I gave my award to Danny Glover. It was close for me. I thought he was better than Mel Gibson in this one. Mel Gibson, there's at times in this movie where he is extremely over the top. He is. Where I thought Danny Glover had, like, concern for his well-being. He thought Mel Gibson was crazy, and he's like, you need help. So I thought he was good. He didn't also just write him off and keep calling him crazy or anything like that. Like, it seemed like he wanted to get him help. And I just thought he was a really good actor, and he was delightful in it.
He does make the part, and that's why I also chose him. Why do we always choose the same people? It's very annoying.
I should say I had initially was going to give it to Mel Gibson, but after a while I was just like,
But I agree with you. Mel Gibson, I almost wanted to give him the Nicolas Cage, but he's a good actor. Yeah. It's just his character, like, did stuff that I wanted to, like, wring his neck for. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that has something to do with his acting ability. That's how the character is written.
Yeah.
I also give it to Murtaugh because he really makes the part. He is Murtaugh, and I mean, he has the most iconic line, you know?
I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah, it's referenced in so many things,
Yes.
and just the whole, I'm going to retire in a couple days, and which I don't actually think he was retiring. Was he?
I think that I'm confusing that with the second one.
I think it was
I think
the
it's
second
the
one,
second one where he's going to retire soon.
Yeah. I was waiting for him to say it, but also the whole trope of, like, in Beverly Hills where it's like Axel Foley's partner or like mentor, and he's like, I'm gonna retire in 2 days, and then he dies.
Yeah.
Like, that's also kind of a action movie cliche.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking along the lines of that.
Yeah.
But he is getting too old for this shit.
He really is. He's 50.
Yeah.
Although he's actually 40.
Yeah. Which I think it's crazy. I'm like, there was nobody else. There was no other actor close to that age.
I guess.
They just like spray painted some silver into his hair or something.
Into his beard. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was kind of funny. And to be honest with you, because I didn't really remember this movie that much, it's actually a really dark movie compared to what I remember.
Yeah.
It's not like your typical buddy cop movie like Beverly Hills or Rush Hour where there's a lot of comedy. It's pretty dark. They're dealing with, like, even just the first situation where they're dealing with a freaking active shooter that are shooting at children.
Yeah.
Which is hitting a little too close to home in these recent years.
Yeah, he was literally sniping kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dark as fuck.
Yeah.
And then people are just, dying left and right. Cops are... I always feel bad in action movies. I feel like there's always those nameless cops that just get shot for no reason.
A lot of them are kind of just standing around like... They're doing things that an actual police officer would never do. They're not going to just stand around. Like, they're running around trying to save lives and, doing stuff like in the movies. There's always just a cop standing on the sidewalk just talking on a radio. Like, that
or
doesn't
sitting
happen.
in their car.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's not believable.
Which, I mean, cops do sit in their cars a lot, but they have to get around.
Well, yeah, they got to drive. Yeah, they're not just sitting there like...
But I was just thinking about the end scene when Gary Busey's character just pulls up to Murtaugh's house and there's a unit on it. And he just shoots him. And the best part is, I think Murtaugh and Riggs are already there, so they just allowed that to happen.
I don't know.
Because they had a sign. They had a sign that said, "To the bad guys."
That's a good point.
Like,
and
that's confusing. So you just allowed two cops to die?
You bring up a real good point. Because then also, they get shot. We don't know that they're dead.
Yeah.
They just got shot. And by...
I feel like he shot one in the face.
Well, Murtaugh's out there letting Riggs have a WWF match against Gary Busey. That's delaying medical treatment to these other officers that were shot. That is a good point.
Somebody else is taking over that because... this movie should be renamed Not Police Procedure.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes me wonder how many people as children watch this movie and they're like, I'm going to become a police officer because that and Die Hard
and
gave
Beverly
me
Hills
these
Cop.
Expectations that you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Well, they don't show the officer having to write 30 hours of paperwork for this accident where he just let a car crash into a house. They don't show that.
And Murtaugh having to explain to a police captain or chief who doesn't exist in this movie, surprisingly.
What happened?
Yeah.
You let a cop car crash into your house? We're not paying for that.
Yeah.
That's coming out of your pocket.
And I feel like insurance wouldn't pay for that either.
No.
They'd be like, you did that on purpose? Yeah, we don't cover that.
Just so he would come outside? Ring a doorbell.
I feel like you could have did anything else. Because his family wasn't even in the house anymore. So that's why I think, unless he called them and told, hey, leave this note real quick. And then leave the house. And I'm probably going to crash a car just to distract him for 5 seconds.
And ruin all the Christmas presents.
Ruin all the Christmas presents. Irresponsible. Mm-hmm. That's what they should call it. Irresponsible weapon.
Yeah. Irresponsible weapon.
So, moving on, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this movie holds up?
I know we've kind of poked fun at it a lot.
Yeah.
But I do think it actually held up. Like, there's parts we've addressed and that are stupid, But I think at the end of the day, it was still a really entertaining movie. Like you said, it's dark. It's not as fun as the sequels. A lot of them, there's a lot of fun stuff, especially when they introduced Joe Pesci's character, which I think is in the second one he's introduced as Leo. And those are a lot more fun than this. But I think the movie in general, I don't know why I thought it was going to be funnier than what it actually ended up being. Right? It wasn't as funny. But I thought it was a good movie. I thought, like we said, Danny Glover was fantastic. Even Mel Gibson was pretty good.
He was.
Any movie with low-flying helicopter, I'm a big fan of. So I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to, but at the same time, I don't think it was bad.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm still a little on the fence, but I'm going to say it doesn't hold up because I think there are better action movies out there. Ones that have been made recently, or I also feel like a lot of the stuff that happened in this movie, it wasn't cliche at the time, but now it's become a cliche, and I think that doesn't help, and the score was really over the top and cheesy, but at the same time, I do like the characters and the acting, and the overall movie was fine. Yeah. I just don't think it holds up. I think I'd rather watch other action movies overall.
Yeah, the one thing you did hit on that I would almost like to see a version of it it's like a director's cut where they take out the score.
And maybe put just like a normal...
Don't even put anything. Just leave it. Just take it out.
Well, you have to have some sort of music. How are we supposed to know how to feel?
No, put some songs in it, but don't have the... like every time there's a lull in dialogue.
Yeah.
We should have counted how many times they go to a saxophone. It's well into the 50s.
No, it's like every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's really loud at points.
Yes. It's distracting.
It's very distracting.
So that part I agree with you. I did think it was a good movie. I could watch it again and enjoy it, but I don't blame you for going like, yeah, it's a little over the top and there's definitely Buddy Buttercup. There's Betty Buttercup. Come on, take a shot. Cock. Better Buddy Cop movies.
That was great.
That's what I was trying to say. Oh boy.
I would possibly rewatch it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put off the table completely, but I just don't think it holds up to, as a kid, thinking it's the best action movie ever.
Agreed.
So
we'll definitely maybe down the line have to do the other ones.
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't remember much of this one, but I definitely don't remember any of the other three. Okay. Other than, isn't Renee Russo in one?
She's in like at least two of them.
And
Chris Rock's in one.
Chris Rock, yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember that, but that's about it. But definitely. So that's it for us, guys. We disagreed. It's a rarity, but it happens.
It happens. We ask that you always go ahead and think about writing us a review and maybe a little subscribe on iTunes if you are so inclined.
Yes.
Tell some friends and family.
Yeah. And even if you don't listen to us on iTunes, because if you're listening to us on like Podcoin, definitely listen to us on Podcoin so you can get some
a little
points.
De Niro.
But if you do have an iPhone and you have access to iTunes or the podcast app, if you could just go on there and review us, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. Because I wish Podcoin did have a review section or even a rating system, but they don't yet. Nice. So hopefully that's something they do in the future. Mm-hmm. What else do we want to say? Every time, I don't know what I'm doing.
You can throw us a follow on Facebook at Ruining Our Childhood. That's where we post our polls, which we had won a poll. That's why we're reviewing it, so we'll do those occasionally.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram.
Yep.
At Ruining Our Childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitter.
At ROC Movie Podcast.
Why are you looking at me like I'm forgetting something?
No.
Oh, you should see his face, guys. He's judging me.
Just staring you down.
It's because I said I didn't like Lethal Weapon anymore.
Yeah, somebody's sleeping on the couch tonight. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, have fun with that.
Aw, well done.
So, yeah.
So that's it. We'll see you guys next week.
We don't know how to end a podcast.
17 episodes in.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
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 Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, we want to talk to you a little bit about the Podcoin app.
Yes! The Podcoin app. It pays you to listen to Ruining Our Childhood, as well as your other favorite podcasts. You can use the Podcoin you earn to claim gift cards for some of your favorite stores.
What? Starbucks?
Check.
Amazon?
Correct.
Target.
Acha.
Seriously, guys, this is pretty legit. Join the Podcoin app today on iPhone or Android, and I said join, but I meant download.
You've got to download
and
it.
use code RUINING to get 300 Podcoin just for signing up.
That's 300 Podcoin for using RUINING.
That's how you spell ruining, just in case you don't know that.
Yes.
So if you're basically listening to podcasts all day anyways while you're working or driving or doing anything, might as well make some money off the deal. Am I right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, free coffee for something you're already doing sounds fantastic.
It does sound fantastic.
Take a shot.
So go give the Podcoin app a try today. And also don't forget to listen to Ruining Our Childhood and make some money, guys.
Okay.
Bye.